It's 1 o'clock, and the meeting of the Monroe County Election Board for January 2nd, 2020 is now in order. Members present are Carolyn Vanderweel, the Democratic member and current chair, Hal Turner, the Republican member, and Nicole Brown, our county clerk and secretary. First on the agenda is to approve the outstanding minutes, which are the minutes from December 5th, 2019, which Ms. Morris sent out in her usual pristine fashion to myself and Hal and Nicole, as well as Andrew Gunther, who was proxy for Hal at the last meeting. I have not heard that there are any changes, but I will open that question.
No changes.
No changes.
All right. Hearing that there are no changes to the minutes from December 5th, 2019, I will make the motion that we approve the minutes of December 5th, 2019. Is there a second?
I will second the motion.
The motion has been made and seconded. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Thank you again, Sherry, for your hard work in making sure that those minutes are always complete. All right, old business. We did have a swearing-in session yesterday at the City Hall, and I believe that everybody from Bloomington is now sworn in. People from Ellettsville and from Steinsville have until the 31st to make sure that they get those oaths sworn and signed so that they can be in office. Just a reminder of that. Update on our election purchases, election equipment and purchases.
Thank you. The election update that I have regarding equipment purchases is that our vendor reached out to us today to advise that we can expect delivery of the equipment in February of this year. And I'm very grateful that we have the opportunity to continue doing business with them. They have been incredible to Monroe County, and so I believe that there will be a seamless transition as we transition to the new equipment.
Question. Did they indicate whether it would be the early part or the latter part of February?
The first part of February is when we can anticipate delivery.
Great.
And they are such incredible people that I wouldn't be surprised if we got it a little bit before.
Yep. Terrific. Thank you.
Do you anticipate significant training issues?
I do not, first of all, because we have our incredible Sherry Morris, who trains all of our poll workers. I do not anticipate there being a significant training issue. Ms. Sherry, you might have some concerns that you want to put out, but the equipment should pretty much mirror what we have as far as.
Not to interrupt, I don't see significant issues, but we're going to add some extra time for those dealing with the new equipment.
In a way.
We're going to add an extra half an hour of training for those individuals who deal with and operate the equipment.
Thank you.
Yep.
So inspectors and judges predominantly.
Inspectors and judges. Yeah, clerks can, I'm not on a microphone, but yes, correct. I'll just say that.
And then do we have information on e-poll books as well?
So we do not have an update on electronic poll books other than now that we have taken care of the voting equipment, we can move on to the electronic poll books. Unlike our vendors for the voting equipment, our electronic poll book, prospective electronic poll book vendor is in the state of Indiana. So I anticipate it will not be nearly as tedious as it was with the voting equipment.
So we'll have an update on that in February?
I certainly hope to.
All right. Moving on to item 3, polling sites for 2020. We were investigating the issue of whether or not we could get a police officer to help direct traffic at the Ellisville Town Hall if we decided to move to that location. And my understanding is that the town has said they will not supply an officer. We can pay one. Was it $60 an hour?
$50.
$50 an hour? $600 for, I think that just goes to cats directly. The others don't work. Anyway, so it was $600 for the day. I will say that there was a bill introduced into the Senate, I believe, and I don't have that number, Sherry, but I'll get it for you for the purpose of the minutes, to eliminate schools as polling sites in the state of Indiana. Obviously, we do not know at this point whether or not that's going to pass or change. Looks like it's SB 82, introduced by Senator Niemeyer. And basically, it says that for a general municipal primary school district or special election conducted after December 31st, 2023, prohibits an elementary school or a secondary school from being designated as a polling place, satellite office, or vote center, allows a school corporation to request of the county executive, county election board, or circuit court clerk that an elementary school or a secondary school of the school corporation not be designated as a polling site, satellite office, or vote center before the prohibition goes into effect, and requires a response to the request. Now, the bill has been introduced, it's been assigned to the Elections Committee, and we don't know at this point where it will go from there. Obviously, we use a lot of elementary and secondary school sites as polling places here in Monroe County, and I'm guessing that a lot of other counties do, so I'm considering there'll be some feedback or some feedback and some blowback on this particular bill. But in light of some of the issues at this point, and the fact that that is not in effect and won't be until at least the end of this year, that we consider continuing to use the school in Ellisville as opposed to the town hall for this current election, and maybe revisit that site.
I am absolutely in agreement, and my understanding is we're having a little bit of difficulty with the microphone, so I hope that I am speaking clearly. I am in support of that, and with the new year and the legislative committee getting the bills written, I will be making frequent trips to Indianapolis, and will be happy to keep you updated as I learn things about this particular bill.
Excuse me, is it possible that we as an election board could make a joint statement to the author of this bill about our sentiments?
Certainly, testimony is public. You can certainly appear. I would think that for transparency purposes, if we all, as an election board, decided to speak in support or defeat of that particular bill, that we would notice that properly, that we would all be in attendance. As a member of the Legislative Committee for both the Clerks Association and the AIC, if we did not have the opportunity to notice a meeting, I would be happy to relay your concerns on behalf of my election, the Monroe County Election Board.
Thank you.
If we should do that.
Please feel free to share my concerns with them, and I imagine Carolyn also shares the same concerns.
We have no idea at this point whether the bill will even make it into a hearing, but we will be monitoring that particular bill, because it certainly might affect our decisions in the future, but at this point, I'm going to proceed as if that is not a law. We also made a site visit to the IMU to look at the possibility of using the solarium and the auditorium at the IMU for our general election in 2020. Sorry, no, it's no, not the University Club. The Alumni Hall, yes, thank you. Alumni Hall and the solarium for our general election purposes. At this point, we would still be in the University Club for the primary, which is generally less of a busy election at that particular precincts, because the students are mostly gone by the time the primary comes around. I think Nicole and I went and visited after the last election board.
And I went subsequently.
Yeah. Obviously, the new site would give us a significantly larger space, and that was definitely a concern in the 2018 general election. They had people around the building and down the halls obstructing traffic and so forth. So this is a request that has been made and an offer that's been made by the folks at Indiana University. The major concern is HAVA compliance, because while there is a fair bit of ADA parking, it would be further away than the University Club. They also did offer to put up temporary extensions along the sidewalk there, so we could probably add 5 or 6 additional ADA parking spots for those who would be unable to make the extra couple hundred feet that we'd be talking about between the lot, which is completely now ADA parking, and the entrance into Alumni Hall, as well as there are, I think, 4 spots additionally that are to the west of that entrance as well. So we probably have adequate parking. The question would be, is it further away, and would we consider that to be an issue? I think if we can put in the sidewalks, that space would be ideal. Everybody could be inside. You know, last year, or in 2018, the general election was actually in pretty nice weather, so being outside was not a problem, but we've certainly had elections in November where it's been snowing or raining, and having that additional space would be really nice. So I think that if that spot actually works for our HAVA compliance, it makes a really nice venue for us to have. They also plan to put out food trucks and various other things during the day so that people can nosh while they're in line and so forth. So they're really making a big effort to do this and to make that space a really nice polling site for the folks who need to vote there. Karen, do you have comments? You've also, of course, made that site thing, and I know it's hard for you to make it, but just...
The only thing I see is the handicap parking, the HAVA compliancy there, and it's probably okay, but that's a hard decision to make. Other than that, it's like amazing. It would be great. It would be great for everybody, especially the voters.
Yeah. We might actually ask somebody who would need that type of parking to maybe take a look at that and see what they think before we make that final vote, which I think we can do in February. But we do want to make that decision fairly soon. They do have the space reserved for us, so it's not like we have to deal with that. But maybe we can ask Pace to find somebody to make a better comment than somebody who has a bad hip but certainly doesn't need to use a walker or other things, in terms of, is that really going to be a burden? And then I think we'll take a final vote on those 2 sites in February. Any comments from the left or right?
I just want to thank Mr. Campbell, I believe that was his name, Mr. Campbell from the Indiana Memorial Union, who was absolutely phenomenal as a host to us when we were there, and just was instrumental in making me feel comfortable that that is an incredible space. And I love the word nosh. He mentioned the food trucks. I think that the Indiana University students will be excited about that, and I look forward to however that is going to work out. I know that it will work out. We've all acknowledged how important it is for us to have that polling site on the Indiana University campus, and I am so excited to see how it unfolds.
So we'll postpone an election on final polling sites for 2020 until the next meeting, and you can reach out to Pace and see if we can get a review from some of our ADA folks who would need to, or would be beneficial for them to comment on whether or not that's going to be a significant issue or not. But we would again have maybe 4 or 5 sites along the sidewalk, which would actually be even closer than the parking for the University Club right now. So that might be adequate, and we will make those final decisions next month. Further comment? Comment from the public? Hearing none, let's move on to new business. First business of order is the MCEB officers for 2020. And in 2017, we made a policy decision from the board to rotate officers so that there's a balance of leadership through the 4-year cycle. Basically, it means that we would rotate so that in each general election, the member of the opposite party becomes the new chair. And then by the time we get through that 4-year cycle, the opposite party would be in charge. So each party chairs meetings across different types of elections. We, of course, have 4-year cycle. There is the presidential election, the county election, the no election, and then the municipal election. And basically, this doesn't make, one party the chair during the non-election year when we may or may not be doing a significant amount of issues. And then during the presidential election, that we allow that to happen. Ms. Morris has put together a very nice graphic about how that all works and what years those would be, and we'll have those in the minutes for the next election. But essentially, this means that we would now be moving on to Mr. Turner being the chair of the MCEB for 2020. I would be the chair next year or the following year, anyway, we've got the rotation. Let's see. Yeah, so in 2021, when there's no election, I would be the chair. I would also be the chair the following year, and then Mr. Turner or whoever is the Republican representative will be the chair during the municipal election, and then as we move back into the next presidential election, we would repeat that cycle in the opposite order. I think this is a fair rotation, and I like the way it works. It did mean that I became chair on my first election board meeting, but we are here to help. Mr. Turner at least has 2 election board meetings, or 2 or 3 election board meetings under his belt, and he certainly stepped in with both feet and has been running along with this.
And my proxy.
And your proxy. But, this is a group that works in a bipartisan manner, and we will be there to help him as much as we can. And we can either turn things over to you now and you can continue, or I will finish out this meeting and we will pass the bill on to you in the next election. All right, so officially Mr. Turner is now chair of the Monroe County Election Board, but I will be his proxy through the rest of this meeting. All right. I don't know that we actually need to vote on that, but we do need to make everybody aware that that's how it's going to be. And so we might as well vote on it just in case we have to. So the members, I should say the officers of the Monroe County Election Board for 2020 would be Hal Turner as the chair, Carolyn Vanderweel as the Democratic member, and Nicole Brown as our party secretary.
I will second that motion.
The motion has been made and seconded. Is there further comment? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, nay. Congratulations, Hal.
Thank you.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Next order of business is our meeting dates for, and of course, so that has just particularly disappeared. All right. Meeting dates for the regular sessions of the Monroe County Election Board for 2020. We have reserved this room on the first Thursday of each month from 1 to 3 p.m. as we have done for the past number of years. As always, we could be bumped from any space by the Township Assistance Appeal that might occur on these same dates, but it's not happened in my experience, and should it happen, we will move the meetings. This would serve as public notice for the 2020 Election Board regular meetings for purposes of the open door law, but we will announce and post an agenda for every meeting as possible. And obviously, if there are additional meetings that need to be called, those will be appropriately noticed. But the meetings for 2020 will now be January 2nd, February 6th, March 5th, April 2nd, May 7th, June 4th, July 2nd, August 6th, September 3rd, October 1st, November 5th, and December 3rd.
It may be worth adding, there is a sheet showing those dates on the table, and all of those meetings will individually be communicated with a public notice to confirm the location.
Correct.
Do you need a motion?
No. Resolutions needed to perform the business of carrying out an election. There are a number of resolutions that we pass each year and that officially expire either on January 31st or I should say December 31st or January 1st of the following year. And at the moment, I think we're going to deal with one of those. Which is a resolution number 1, Inspector for Precinct Sharing number 1 location. On this day, by unanimous approval, the Monroe County Election Board adopts a resolution to permit one person to serve as an inspector for more than one precinct, voting at the same shared polling place locations. This resolution will be effective during the 2020 elections and may include these precincts. We have a list of those precincts, which I'm not going to read. And we might actually want to postpone this particular one until we've got the precincts set, but we could probably just deal with it today and then update the addendum for the actual precinct sites and the ones that would be shared after we've made that final decision in February. Comment from left or right?
I have no concerns with this.
This is a resolution we pass pretty much every year, and it becomes, it means we don't have to put 2 inspectors in one polling place and so forth, so.
May I recommend that we sign it today, and if we should need to amend it, that we do so at a future meeting?
Yeah, in general, we add the list of precinct sites and the shared sites as an addendum to the resolution anyway, so that can be passed at any time. So do I hear a motion to approve this resolution?
I will make the motion.
I'll second.
Motion's been made and seconded. Is there further discussion?
I'd like to add to something. I do appreciate that getting signed today. Also, we have started in my office to recruit. And so we've made a lot of calls, contacted a lot of churches, different schools, and that's been moving forward. It's not that we won't need recruiters, but we're getting a jump on it. And with every person that is making that commitment at this time, you know, we are saying that you will be called back in April to confirm this again and set up timing for training and such. And if a polling site does change, then we will, of course, notify them at that time, because there's basically one that could change or not, but something else could happen in between time. But that has been going, I think, very well. And just, I would like for anybody listening to this, if they're interested in working, please give the office a call at 812-349-2690. And, or if you know a friend, or you want people to work together with you, this is a great opportunity and a great time. It seems early, but it really isn't, because this is the January meeting. Before we know it, it's the February meeting, and early voting starts in April, and we are going to be needing a lot of people.
Correct. So to summarize that for cats and for those who are hearing this over the internet, or who couldn't hear what was just said, we are actually starting to recruit workers for the 2020 elections for the primary. We have noticed all of these people that we are, or will contact them again in April to set up training times and to confirm their actual locations. It's unlikely that anything's going to change significantly, even if with IMU that's going to be the same site for the primary. So the one question would be in Ellettsville, and it's just down the road, so we'll make sure that everybody knows. She also said that anybody who would be interested in working working at the polls on Election Day for the primary should contact our office, which is 812-349-2690. Or if you have a friend to recruit, pass them along, because we're going to need a significant number of workers this year. We expect a big turnout, both in the primary and again in the general election for 2020. So if you're interested in working, go ahead and get that sent up now.
Question on the process of selecting these volunteers or accepting these volunteers. Is there any review done with either of the party chairs in the county?
I have a no-call list from both party chairs, and we go by that, and then we also vet them to make sure that they are registered voters and that they have voted accordingly to what party they're being signed up for. So if you are a Democrat or a Republican, we check your voting history, and then we'll put you in that slot accordingly, a Republican or Democrat clerk, let's say.
You must be 18 years of age or 16 years plus with some stipulations, and we can go through those if people who are 16, 17 wish to work. You must be a registered voter in the state, and you would be assigned as either a Democrat or a Republican to work in the primary, and for that matter, in the general election. But those are the major stipulations. And I guess you also have to be able to read English and read and write in English. Is the third requirement.
Yes, they all need to be registered in Monroe County, excepting the 16 and 17-year-olds who cannot register yet. But if you're 18, even in high school, you still need to be registered in Monroe County.
Correct.
It might also be worth mentioning, for those of you who are interested, that it is considered seasonal or temporary work. I had the unfortunate experience of receiving a request for unemployment benefits from a previous poll worker. I certainly hate that anybody would be in a circumstance where they need to make unemployment claim for benefits, but being a poll worker is a seasonal/temporary opportunity, and it does not make you eligible for unemployment benefits. I think that I always say, if you're using this money to live on, the stipend that you get for working the polls to live on, this is not the opportunity for you. But certainly, if you choose to take advantage of that opportunity, it is not one that makes you eligible for those benefits. Thank you.
So the second resolution, did we vote on the first? I can't remember.
We voted on the...
Okay, so we have a motion and a second to pass the resolution for inspectors for precinct sharing in one location. We've had motions made, seconded, we've had further discussion, and all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, nay? All right. Our section, or our second resolution that we'll mention today is that the Monroe County Election Board resolves under IC 3-11-8-4.3 that precincts may be combined in or following the statute at the stated locations as designated in a separate attachment. Again, the separate attachment will be confirmed at our vote in February as we get those final 2 polling sites up to date. This is another resolution that terminates every year and needs to be reinstated. But basically just allows us to put several precincts in one polling site. Again, means we don't have to have 90-odd polling sites in Bloomington. Is there a second?
Second?
Is there further discussion?
No.
Hearing none, all in favor of this resolution, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. We actually got a whole series of resolutions that expire yearly while we were at the Election Administrators Conference in December, which was chock full of a lot of great information this year, some of which I'm still reading. And we may have some further resolutions in the future, but those 2 are probably the most important in terms of our setting up an election for next year. Moving on to upcoming dates of interest. There are basically 2 things I want to make sure that everybody knows. First of all, of course, candidate filing for the 2020 elections occurs or starts on January 8th. That's the first day the candidates running for office in 2020 can file for major parties. And the deadline is noon on Friday, February 7th, 2020. So if you want to run and you file at 12:01 on February 7th, you're out of luck. So get your filing in early or late, but don't go past the deadline. I would remind everybody that this year Democrats are electing delegates to the convention. Republicans are electing delegates to the convention. They're also electing precinct committee people. You must file separate Can 1s for each position, so you can't combine them. And then the other important notice to all of our candidates is that the deadline by noon to file your 2019 annual campaign finance report with the IED, a county election board of the Lake and Tippecanoe County Boards of Elections and Registration, is noon, January 15th. If you had an open campaign committee in 2019, whether or not you ran for office or took in any money or spent any money, you must file this particular form. This is the one that catches out a lot of people because they think, well, I didn't do anything. I haven't done anything for 3 years. I don't need to file this form. You do. We will send a notice out saying that everybody needs to file it. And if you get one, don't toss it in the trash. It's not a mistake. But if you did have an open campaign, finance committee, get that in by January 15th, preferably long before noon, so that we don't have to spend time telling you to make it on time. I guess that's a good point to also say that if you have an outstanding fine from the election board for previous campaign finance report delinquencies, this is a good time to get it fixed because that could be a reason that your candidacy could be challenged. And if you are not sure whether or not you actually owe money to us, give us a call. Let us know. And I believe that's everything that we have on our agenda. Are there further updates from either the left or the right?
I do, but I defer to you first.
I have none.
I wanted to say a few words before the meeting closed. I brought something up at last month's election board meeting, and I would like to add something to that. Since last month's election board meeting, my office has received clarifying questions regarding the spatial issues that we have at Election Central and our need to expand the space allotted to us at the Johnson Hardware Building prior to early and absentee voting for the presidential election, to which my office is preparing a formal response. I want to be clear that these issues were brought to the attention of both the council and the commissioners, both under the previous clerk's administration and under the current administration, on numerous occasions by myself, my chief deputy clerk, and my election supervisor. With the New Year's arrival and our being within throwing distance of early and absentee voting, I am appealing to anyone who has plans to participate in the 2020 election to reach out to each of your Monroe County Commissioners in support of expanding the space and square footage available to Election Central so that spatial issues are not a hindrance to Monroe County delivering a successful presidential election. This would include, but not be limited to, voters, poll workers, volunteers, and most importantly, my fellow election board members. I don't have to tell you that time is of the essence. Finally, it is imperative to me, personally, professionally, and for the purpose of the recorded election board minutes, that every Monroe County voter, poll worker, and constituent is clear that my office did not wait until January 2020 to initiate outreach regarding the spatial issues at Election Central. Thank you.
Is there public comment for any items not on our agenda? Hearing none, we'll notice that the next meeting of the County Election Board will be on February 6th, 2020, from 1 to 3 p.m. in this room. Mr. Turner will be in the chair. And if there is no further business, I will entertain a motion for adjournment.
Moved.
So
Second.
moved. We're adjourned.